someone coming into the business, working in a shop, falling in love with it. I don't know that we need to do anything. I think that's going to continue to happen the way it always has. But I think the strategy is different. So in the past, it was like an old record store. They just carried records, right? Because that's what we used to compare comic shops to in the 70s
Right.
and 80s.
Sure.
And now I think it's about diversification. And it is a firm belief of mine that if more stores are diversified, it generates more capital, not only for them to take risks, but to buy collections and do other things that they wouldn't have the ability to do. You know, we've bought collections that were six figures. I bought a collection that was it was like 30 grand more than my first house.
Yeah.
But without us selling all these other things, we wouldn't have generated the revenue to do that. And I think that the diversification piece for our industry moving forward is, you know, your local comic shop should be the place that you can get the products adjacent to the things that you love.
Hi, my name is Adam Freeman. This is Comic Industry Insiders, a weekly podcast where I talk to the people behind the scenes of the comic book industry, the people I've gotten to know over the years who have become some of my favorites and keep this whole system running with the goal of maybe finding something that they know that you don't know that will make your business or career in comics that much better. Today's guest is Robert Young, or Rob, depending on who you're talking to, who is talking, founder and owner of Borderlands Comics and Games, one of the most respected independent comic shops in the country. And I do not say that lightly. Robert opened Borderlands in '94. Over the last 3 decades, he's quietly built something a lot of retailers talk about, study, and benchmark against, a store that doesn't just sell comics, but creates readers and creates a culture and creates a place. Borderlands is known for its thoughtful curation, strong hand-selling culture, early and consistent support of creator-owned work, and deep engagement with schools, libraries, and the broader community. And if you've never been to this convention, I recommend it. So, beyond the walls of his store, Robert is widely regarded as one of the smartest retailer minds in the direct market. So when he weighs in on things like distribution and publisher programs or any of the long-term health of the comics retail, we, the people behind the scenes, we listen because Robert comes from a place of knowledge. He's not loud. It's because he's right. So this one I've been looking forward to because Borderlands has been one of my favorite stops on the trail, and South Carolina Comic Con has been a wonderful piece in my life. So I am so happy to finally sit down with my friend, Mr. Rob Young. How you doing?
Hey, buddy. Thanks. That was humbling. That was really kind. Thank you.
I think it's supposed to be the opposite of humbling. It's supposed to be like building you up, right?
Well,
like,
awesome.
you know. Let's put in context a few things here and try and put some numbers around it. Tell me about the current size and state of Borderlands and whatever numbers you can use to give that scope.
Sure. So the store started as a Heroes location. It was 800 square feet. And then after we took it over, it had moved to a 4,000 square foot location, which was a nice store. And as you know, during COVID, I did something kind of crazy. And we bought a dilapidated, massive building with the roof caving in. And it was a crazy, insane thing. Everybody told me I was nuts. And it's 16,000 square feet now. Took 3 years to get the building in shape because we had a budget, so we had to work within time for more about the money than about the time. And then we opened this location. Gosh, I guess November was 3 years, so we're a little over 3 years in this one, and it's been crazy what it's done with our ability to do different things and have the space and the flexibility. And then wrap your head around how to use it.
How do you use 16,000 square feet?
Well, I remember you and I sitting at the bar of a restaurant in town at the con, and talking about it a million years ago.
Yeah.
And me, dreaming about what our sales would be and doing different things. And what I wanted was kind of for lack of a better term, a target for comics. So anything adjacent. So we carry manga, t-shirts, an all ages section, gaming, Games Workshop, Magic, Pokemon, Riftbound, Lorcana, board games, card games, like, believe it or not, Uno sells like crazy. Things like that. Yeah. And then we have more room to keep, gosh, I think we keep 60 or 70,000, probably more than that, back issues on the floor, and then an equal amount of dollar books for cheap reads. And then we have a backboard area for good books and vintage video games and vintage toys. And obviously we have a billion graphic novels. The idea was anything that connects to this thing we love, we want people to be able to come here and at least have a chance to find it. Maybe you don't have it, but we've got a lot. And so it's that. And then obviously the convention ties in as not only a promotional tool for the store, but really for the industry. A rising tide, it lifts all ships, right? So any of our competitors in the area, and a lot of them I'm really friendly with, then it helps everybody by doing the con as well.
So tell me about let's talk about the con then, its current state. And again, whatever context you feel comfortable giving to
Sure.
its size.
Currently, the show is the most attended event at the Greenville Convention Center. It's about 25,000 people. That is still organized by just my wife and I. It's pretty insane that there's not some big team behind it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm really not sure how we do it.
What?
Yeah, I feel like it's smoke and mirrors. And then at the event, obviously, there's a transport lead. We have people over media, and there's people there doing things. But the advanced planning, we have a volunteer coordinator helping us with some of that. But other than that, booking flights, hotels, marketing, all that's, laying out 220,000 square feet. That's all done by us. We've just gotten used to it.
That is the most surprising thing. I had no expectation of that. I would have assumed that you would at least have a very small team, maybe like a team lead, somebody who just manages. No, it's just the two of you.
I admit that decision is probably going to change at some point soon. Yeah. We're at that point where I think I don't want to work the insane hours. I mean, I think I told you years ago, like my first year or two, I averaged 100 hours every 7 days. I slept about 3 hours a night. And I always tell people, if you want to be an entrepreneur, be prepared to work harder than you've ever worked for anything in your life.
Amen.
And it's worth it. I mean, it is.
It really is.
But it is a mental grind, and you have to just be prepared for that and kind of have the thought process. I heard I'm into fights, and I used to do jiu-jitsu and stuff. And a guy that held on to his title this weekend from Australia named Alexander Volkanovski said, adversity is a privilege.
Being able to choose what that friction is, I would say, is a privilege, but I think it's strategic, right? You chose this adversity so that you don't have to deal with that adversity, right? You choose to get up and work out so that you don't have to choose to feel like shit, right? That's the obvious trade-off. But like I've said more than once, I mean, I'm 50 years old. Like, if I get a corporate job right now, I'm always going to be the first one laid off. But if I have a number of different clients that I'm working for, as much difficult as that is, none of them can lay me off. But that's just it. It really, you're choosing that. You chose this life for you because you didn't want the adversity of having to work for somebody else, I guess.
If at some stage of life I decide maybe, if I leave this and I retire, maybe I consult, maybe I work for somebody. Yeah. But then again, it's a choice.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? It's what you picked, and it's all right. I think the biggest thing is just not being scared of hard work and understanding what it does and the benefits of that. And I always say, and I've told you this 100 times, my superpower is I'm not smart enough to quit. And it's amazing what you can do.
That's right. you just the hard work becomes the expectation after a while. There's no disappointment about having to work hard because you're like, what? I'm awake. What else would I be doing?
Well, right. I mean, I can sit around and do nothing, or I can do something that makes me feel good. I accomplished something. I help somebody else or help an employee, or we're able to put them in a position where they get a promotion and a raise and getting things done. And I don't know, man. I still kind of love it. I've never grudged coming into work. It's never hard for me to get up and come in still. And
Yeah.
I just turned 56, so I'm still liking it.
I'm assuming they're not also running the shop by yourselves. This is the two of you.
We have, counting my wife and myself, we have 17 employees.
And you do. I know every time I talk to you, there's always seems to be some other charitable work or something else that you're doing on the side. You've had other foundations and stuff you've worked with. Can you give some color to that?
There's a lot that we try to do because we feel really privileged. The ability to make a living with funny books, the term everybody likes to use, right? That's outside of our industry, is a gift. And so the ability to give back, I think, is huge. We just dropped off with Tribune Mercy Center, which is some folks that do a lot for the homeless. We just dropped off a little under a ton of food. So what we do for Black Friday is we do 10% off our sale prices, so another 10% off if you bring 10 cans of food. And the response is always just crazy and really, really incredible. And it's not something we do. It's something that all of our customers and friends do. And the part that always impresses me is there are people that come and drop off food and leave. They don't want anything. They don't want to go shopping. They just want to donate. And we're real thankful that they were willing to take that donation. And it was really cool to go do that for them.
A lot of people really miss that how important that is in all of our work. It's just to say, here's your opportunity to do something good.
Well, people want to do something, but they always don't know how. And if somebody runs a food drive at their house, it's not like they won't have friends donate food, but it's harder to generate that momentum, right? It's the same thing with, when we've done blood drives, and I think blood donations through us in the con is probably like 8,000 pints or something crazy. But for us, you make it easy for people to do something good. And I think most people are okay, right? It becomes a beautiful thing, and people want to help, and they want to donate, and they want to try to do something good for somebody else.
So let's talk about the shop that you have built, 16,000 square feet. I'm realizing now as we talk about this that I've still never been to it once it was set up. I was there. I saw the skeleton. Yeah. I saw the white contractor's paint. I don't think I saw much more than that. So when somebody walks into Borderlands for the first time, what is the thing that they're going to see that they would not see at most other shops?
I think it's a diversification of product. There's so many different things. And we had the concept of setting it up with, when you go to an old department store, and you would have a counter for some type of women's makeup, and maybe a counter for, men's clothes or whatever. So you walk in, you've got your front counter. We have a buyback area when people want to bring collections where it's easy for them to drop them off and get them processed. The first counter is the card counter with magic and all that kind of stuff. The next counter is the comic counter. And then down from that's another counter with showcases with toys and vintage video games. And obviously that's just one wall, right? And then the whole rest of the store is all the other products we already talked about. So I think it's really just how much we have and how hard everybody in each area works to try to make it the best they can.
So wait a minute. Let me see if I understand this. So you have a staff of 17. I assume based on all those counters that you have specialists. What does a daily staffing look like? Like let's say a very light day.
Well, believe it or not, you can run a Saturday easier than some days during the week. And the reason is all you're doing Saturday is waiting on, not to say all, but your only real concern is waiting on customers and handling collections they bring in. But during the week, you're doing FOC, you're doing all the game orders, you're doing shipments coming in, and they all need to get processed and put in the POS and put out on the floor and priced and merched properly, and usually shooting some social media videos and getting that stuff up. So I almost feel like we need more people on like a Tuesday through Thursday than we do on a Saturday, because Saturday you don't have to do any of that. It's usually somewhere between 6 and 8 people working on a given day. Pretty solid around those numbers. So usually half the staff.
It's remarkable to me. So is this your location is destination traffic, right? The people are coming to you, and I assume there's a big parking lot because it's South Carolina, and I don't know, real estate is for pennies on the pound, I suppose.
I did something crazy during COVID. I paid to have an hour with Daymond John from that founded Fubu and was on Shark Tank, and I had an hour Zoom call with him. Talking about what we did and how we do it and what he thought, and it was really interesting. And our read, build, play, which we use a lot, was kind of, I had the idea, but he kind of confirmed it for me that it was a good idea, because it talks about nothing specific, right? Because you can read a game manual, you can read a graphic novel, you can read a manga, you can read a kid's book, you can play any of the games, and you can build any of the models like Gundams. We have a huge Gundam section. So those kind of things really help at branding what we are, because then we flux to whatever is working at the time. Like blockies right now are huge. We were very early adopters into that. Those blind boxes of small transformers is what they started with, and they're super cheap. They're really cool, and I think now they have Marvel and Minions and Sesame Street, and they're working on other licenses. But just adopting all that stuff and just being flexible with it.
How do you keep an eye open for new product? I mean, because it sounds like there's a whole lot you have to stay on top of now.
It's a challenge, man. I mean, it's you listen, and your customers are the best resource you could ever have. So when people go, this thing's really cool, I heard about it, then for those type products, that's how you'll find a lot of them. Catalogs, I get 100 emails a day, and I actually make an attempt to at the very least read all the headlines and see which ones you think apply. I'm sure you feel my pain. You're never going to read them all, but you're going to do the best you can.
Email is one of those things. As a marketer, I would never, I encourage everybody, you must get email addresses. Email addresses, it really is the only point of contact that makes any difference. But as a person, email has just become the bane.
I still have a theory on that, which is advertise in the areas that people don't value. So I say that to go, everybody says why would you advertise with snail mail?
Right.
You read everything that comes in your mailbox now.
That's true.
Because you don't get anything.
True.
You get 2-3 pieces a day. Remember when you used to just grab a handful of mail, right? And you throw it away. But if someone sends you a postcard now, you'll actually take 2 seconds to read it.
Yeah.
We did a lot of radio early on, and I still do some radio. And people go, no one listens to radio. And I'll go, it's just not true.
Yeah.
They say nobody watches broadcast television anymore because of streaming. It's also not true. There's a lot of people that still watch broadcast television, and if you can advertise cheaper per person, because all you're looking for in advertising is your CPM. So, and if you can get that number cheaper, then it's a good value.
I'm thinking Gary Vaynerchuk did this book called Underpriced Attention, which was just about like where, everywhere that people's attention is a place for you to put your message, right? And then if it's social media where, creating the videos is free, then why wouldn't you, right? And if and as you said, like if it's cheaper and you're actually going to get attention of the market that you're looking for in radio or TV or print ads. Shall we talk about magazines? I'm kidding.
I may have a bunch of those. I'm looking forward to that. I was excited for you guys.
Thank you. It's boy, it has been for those of you, or I don't know when we're going to be broadcasting this, but we found out our sales numbers, and I legitimately just before coming on here finished approving files to go to print on issue 1 for Comics the Magazine. So it's a big day. It's a crazy day for us. Man,
it's a great day.
That print bill. Oh, boy.
When my advertising and hotel bill comes in from the con, I always sit down and possibly have a bourbon. It's like, let's just have a drink before I open this email. This is going to hurt.
Yeah, no, I think there is something to be said for that. And one of the things I think we run into, especially as a platform for advertising and communicating to people who have, advertising budgets and, they have mandates to build brands and whatnot, is that people aren't used to, marketers have become unused to measuring success in anything that's not a digital ad,
That's really
right?
true. Yeah.
How do you handle that?
You make the choice, you make the decision, and for lack of a better term, when the bullet's out of the gun, it's gone, right? So you run the ad, and what happens happens, and then you just try to decide, like, how many people did you talk to that saw it, that sort of thing. We paid to produce two commercials that we ran on YouTube, and when I say the people that produced them, the guy that shot them won an Emmy. The guys that did the 3D graphics on it worked for Bentley and BMW and all these college universities and pro sports teams, NFL on Fox. It's the guys that I happen to know, and they gave me a very good deal.
Yeah.
But the commercials are amazing. I'll have to send them to you.
Sure, I'd love to see it.
They're pro level, and they look really good. And man, the response from YouTube was incredible. Now we had to pay to put those up, but
Sure.
we felt like the return was really worth it. Matter of fact, we'll be running them again, probably pretty shortly.
Do you have are there seasons for you and that sort of thing, or is it just we haven't done that in a while? What?
It kind of depends. So, like if you're running a buyback, I think buyback ads work really well if you do them before Christmas when people might want money to spend. After Christmas, when maybe they spent more than they should. Spring cleaning is another one. You can run spring cleaning ads; those work really well. I've done them on radio. We did some that were called "Turn all that dust into dollars." The dusty stuff in your closet. We ran a bunch of radio ads for that. Like on the radio, we sponsor a nerd show that actually airs OTA here on the radio on Saturday nights, and we've sponsored that for years. So those kind of things, they do touch people and they reach people, and you're part of the community. And I think sometimes that being a part of the community is advertising in and of itself. Just that awareness that you're doing it. And everybody wants that instant gratification, and I get it. But, I had guys tell me when I started advertising however many years ago that, it doesn't work for comic shops. And my answer was always, yeah, McDonald's and Nike don't have it figured out. If they're advertising and it's working, these guys know it's working. We just have to figure out where it is and how to do it.
100%. And I think that the increased growth that you've seen between both the convention and the shops, I think says a lot more about your ability to become McDonald's and Nike than the others. Let's put it that way.
We'll never spread 20 locations or anything. That's not the plan.
Well, let's talk about that. That actually is a great transition, because I think we on our live show we've been talking a lot about the growth of the direct market and the growth of the store count, right? And how it has been incredibly stable for the last 2 decades, almost 3 decades at this point. Why is that, right? And we've there's been some speculation, mostly by me, that we're about to see this ramp up to growth of some of these chains, especially I heard about one chain recently who said they were going to grow to 30 locations inside of the next year, which is, that's ambitious, absolutely. But I think the question is, why, or have you really focused so hard on making something singular and wide as opposed to, multiplying?
I think part of it comes from it's easier, in my mind, right, for me to go, it is way easier for me to be here every day. And if there's a question or a problem, they knock on my door or I'm out on the floor and I can solve it. And if I got 5 locations, that's hard. We talked a lot about having, one of my sort of ideas in the beginning was to have locations 30 miles north and south of here. That was kind of something I spoke about a lot. And, once we had the idea for this particular location, I didn't see the need. Instead, people are driving 30 minutes to an hour to come to us. And by by generating this behemoth thing that we have here, you hope that it's enough that people feel like it's worth it. It really is a thing of it's got to be worth it. You've got to have something that's worth spending the time traveling to spend time in. And that's kind of the goal, right? I think one of the things that, and this may sound crazy to a lot of guys because they'll tell you it can't happen, but we did it, and I know other people can too, is to own your real estate. And people always tell, well, I can't. I'm like, I just don't believe that. I think there's a way. And I think people, we looked for 5 years before we could get a building and turned down all kinds of things. And, there is one building that is still empty. So it was 11 years later, the building's still empty. Right. And so, and I just turned them down. I said, your price is insane, and here's what I'll offer. And they laughed, and that's great. I mean, still haven't sold it, and you just have to keep moving. And we got real fortunate. We made an offer on this one. It was in a trust. I walked on the deal 3 times. There was somebody in the trust that was crazy, causing problems. And then they eventually came back to me, and when we worked it all out, but I think everybody pressured them. Because we were being real fair with all the work that had to be done. I mean, this thing was between purchase price and all the work we did. It ended up being probably 1.2, 1.5, somewhere in there. But a lot of that money is tied up in a mortgage because you get a construction loan, and then you have the regular loan, and they blend them together, and it's just all in your mortgage. And buying it during COVID, I think during a downturn there is opportunity. So like when the comic market or the card market or whatever is dipping is when you should be buying. And everybody's going, oh, it's down, don't buy. I'm like, don't buy when it's up. It's like a stock, buy when it's down. If you believe it's going to cycle back, which you either think the industry is going to collapse, in which case get out. But if you think it's just going through a down cycle and you just have to survive through that to get back to the good cycle, then that's the time to be aggressive. Yeah.
I always refer to that as the Mr. Potter lesson, right? If you're looking on It's a Wonderful Life and you're looking for one good lesson from Mr. Potter, it's, buy when everybody else is selling. So you really are just like, what is it? I think it was Henry Ford who said, put all your eggs in one basket and then just watch that basket, right? That's what you've done, is you've just created this one singular basket.
Right. And we've got other revenue streams. We have an antique mall booth. We do some of that. It's nothing huge, but it helps. And you move weird stuff that you would never sell in your store. Like we don't sell Barbies, but if they come in a collection, we buy them and we throw them in the antique mall booth. And
yeah,
we are crazy in that we don't do any online sales. I don't have a guy doing that. And then I do have a guy that runs online auctions, and so we'll give him boxes of books, and he charges us 25%. But if you think about that, eBay's 15%. And then you're not only paying a person, you're paying taxes and everything else on that person. That's going to be over 100%. And so we give him, extra back issues we have, or extra Golden Age books that aren't hot Golden Age books. I bought some really big Golden Age collections, and there'll be, a lot of Golden Age books that aren't anything super hot, but they'll sell for $50 to $300 on these auctions. Works out great. So you can still have, by being flexible, you can have other revenue streams that, help you out here and there. Not, setting up at cons, running our con. We don't do a ton of shows. We maybe do, let me think, maybe 10 a year, 10, 12. I don't do
Still a lot. It's a lot more than I would do.
Dragon Con is our biggest show. That one's crazy. It's about 7 10x10s. We have to use basically a semi, and it's palletized, and we rent a house, and we have 10 employees, and we the joke is we rent a mansion because you got to rent something that sleeps 10 people. And it's worth it. They treat us really well. And then we all the way down to, we just did a show in Macon and did fantastic, and I think they had 500 people there, and we did great at that show. I've done that show for years and love the people down there. So it kind of varies, and you just find the spots you're you're happy going to do them, right? You're not going to go do a show in a town you can't stand, but you're going to go to places you like and do them, right? So
that's part of why I like coming to Greenville. It's a lovely little town.
It's a good foodie town. I know you like it.
Yeah, I do. I want to go back to, you said something about online auctions, but it sounded like you were saying that I assumed when you said you had somebody running online auctions, they were going to be on eBay or whatnot. Where are they?
Proxy Bid. I was trying to find it.
All right, then. Yeah.
And so they'll run, and he promotes it in Facebook groups and things like that, because he wants it to do well, so he's motivated, and it works really well. At some point, we'll go back to having an online guy, but it just wasn't working out, and it, we ran the math didn't work, and we moved on. And I think it's really weird to me. The people will always tell you that all the business happens online. And there are very successful people that do a lot online, and I wish them nothing but the best. But if you drive down the street, all of those businesses are not staying open because they're all trust fund babies, right? It's happening because people prefer to walk in, talk to a person, share that knowledge, learn something, or just be around people you like spending time with and get things that you like. And so, it's a very different way of looking at it, I think. It does require more work, but I honestly believe it's a larger reward.
Who are your competitors? Are those online stores, maybe those online discounters? Do you think of them as competitors?
I think the real question is are their customers our customers? I think that's the real question to ask. And if somebody doesn't want to leave their house, maybe they're super busy, maybe they're just not very social, then that's the place they should get their books. Like, I'm not judging that guy, right? But the people that want to come to a store, talk to other people that love comics, we'll just talk about comics, for instance, or even cards or whatever it is, then you want to go to a store. And as far as that goes, I feel like that we do as good a job as anybody. I'm not going to say better, because there's some really good shops around here. But we do a good job. And obviously a lot of people like to come in, and we're always busy. On a Monday, there could be 20 cars in our parking lot, right? And that's a gift. And you just try to treat those people right and be thankful. Wake up every day, be thankful these people want to come in, and try to treat them right.
I like that. I like that a lot. Just one of those things that comes up, especially when you start selling advertising that gets distributed through comic shops. People have opinions about, who are going to be in those ads, and it's an ongoing conversation that it just doesn't feel like, I don't know that I necessarily believe that the online discounters are your competition. Even if your customer sees that ad, that's not what they came to you for anyway, right? Was that discount or the price of that product they wanted.
The analogy I'll make is, and this is not meant as an insult in any way. Somebody could skew it that way, and that's not what I'm trying to do.
Sure.
But is McDonald's competing with Ruth Chris?
Right.
Because the person that wants that price is their primary reason.
Yeah.
Is not going to go to Ruth Chris. And I'm not saying we're Ruth Chris, right? We're probably, Western Sizzle, but Quincy's. But at the end of the day, it's
you're at least an Applebee's.
We're some kind of wonderful. I hear you. But at the end of the day, it's the guy that the cheapest thing he can possibly get that's his place. Yeah. And that's okay. Like, it's not a slam in any way. But clearly, there's a lot of people that don't feel that way. And you don't need all of the business. You don't need all of the customers. And people think about it like that. And also, you can create customers. People can come in and they're curious. And every time, like, our annual sale is, obviously when this airs, it will have happened. But our annual sale is this weekend. And it's insane. I mean, the first one was in '92. When it was Heroes, because I ran it. That was me and Stan Reed were the ones who had the idea and pitched it to Shelton, and it was huge. And if you look at that, those people are coming in for a deal, and all you're doing on these big sales, if you're doing it right, in my opinion, is you're really just getting capital. You're moving a lot of things that maybe you had trouble moving, you discount it, they sell, you get your capital back to use later in the year. But people will see the crazy parking lot and they're parking next door, they're parking at a shopping center next door, and they're like, what is going on? And then they come in and look around and people have been converted to customers. I didn't know
Oh
you
yeah.
were here. I didn't know you had manga. I didn't know I could buy Dog Man. I didn't know, whatever it is. And I had somebody comment that you guys are absolutely insane, but there was someone to help me figure out what I could get. And I'm so thankful that there were people. I mean, there'll be a full staff here. And I've even got people that are coming to work that don't work for us on a normal basis, that are coming to work with us this weekend. So
That's awesome.
I think it's really customer service is a lost art. And when you can provide it, you will be rewarded. And I think it's such a less used piece of business these days because everyone is trying to cut it out. Even distributors at points, right? You're like, it's hard to even get a rep. But if you look at it from a direct to customer standpoint, at that point, when you provide it, it is appreciated at a really high level. And then to the point of you talking about some of the outreach that we do with our charity work, like again, it's they're like, hey, not only do you help me, you're trying to help everybody else, and so now we want to participate in that too. I think it works. I really do. I will believe in that to my dying day because it has been nothing but a gift to us.
So talk about the your staff of 17. I'm going to assume that many of these people are, maybe their first retail job, or maybe you are, maybe even worse, they've had other retail jobs and you have to retrain them. How do you communicate that sort of philosophy to them? Because that's you're right. That is a dying art in many ways. This idea of service.
Well, we all love this stuff at the end of the day, or we wouldn't be doing it. I'd have made a lot more money in sales, and I had a lot of opportunities, and I didn't take them, including when I had the store. I had people come in and offer me. I was offered a sales job, 6-figure salary, and the guy's like, "You could pay someone to run your store," and I went, "I could. I would hate every day because I love what I do."
I
And
would learn to hate you, but I'd appreciate the money, but I'd learn to hate you.
well, I just,
I get it.
and believe it or not, that gentleman's a good friend of mine.
Oh, that's good. I
Yeah,
love that.
we're
See?
good friends. He's nothing but positive. He helps
Only
me.
because he didn't go work for him. That's why. Yeah.
Isn't it funny? It's funny how it works.
But that's so. What do you look for then in those people who obviously they come to you and say, "Hey, are you hiring?" or whatever. But like, what are you looking for?
It varies depending on the position.
Yeah.
Recently, we hired a lady she's working our card counter in the card area. She had played some games a little bit and did enjoy it. A little bit older than the average employee. She's probably in her late 30s, might be 40. And I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase this. It was the opposite of what you might think. The calmness, the gentleness, her ability to not get rattled, in talking to her. I felt would be really good in that environment. Our card manager's a great guy. He's high strung. And I was like, and not in a bad way, but he's really wanting to get stuff done. And he's a good guy. I really like him. And I felt like it was a good combination, and they have meshed great. They get along wonderfully. She's a little bit older than him. I think sometimes looking for that mix is a good thing. A lot of the young kids, like you get a 16, 17, 18-year-old, like sometimes the work ethic, people go, oh, they're lazy. And I'm like, most of us, I was a psycho at that age and would work like a maniac, but that's not normal. And a work ethic is something that has to be learned. I really do believe that. And, you get them and you try to work with them and you try to teach them, you try to get them there. And, we've had some success with that too. We've got a veteran that works here, and the gentleman was on full disability for PTSD. And he and I bonded over jiu-jitsu in an interview. I was doing television, and his jiu-jitsu school was there. And he was one of the teachers. That was what he did. Didn't make any money. He did it for fun. And we became friends. He came in and wanted a job, and he said not worked in a decade. And he told me that when I came in here, it just felt different. And he cares so much. And I told him, and I said, you know what it did? I said, your old jobs triggered your fight or flight. And he said, that's right. And with the PTSD, it's a real thing for him. And I said, but he's a little bit older. He's in his late 30s. And he said the real deal is that it's triggered his protect and nurture.
Oh,
So
that's nice.
Take care of the kids, and he wants to make sure the school goes well. And it's finding these. You have to take your time and interview people, and don't make snap judgments, and sit back and think about it, and see where that mesh is.
Somebody recently told me that everybody's on our staff is some sort of misfit. I don't see it, but like it's I can see how you feel that way. But I always part of me wants to, if you want to come on this ride, I want to bring you on this ride. But also you're right. There is just like you got to be really careful in understanding who people are and how they're going to fit in and what is it they're going to need, right? Because everybody's needs are a little bit different too.
And be willing to cut
yeah.
bait. If it's not that's hard.
Oof, that's the hard one.
It's hard. I am not going to lie. I have let people go and told guys I had to take some calls and went in my office and cried because I hated doing it. I hate it every time, even when it's so deserved. I hate doing it. It is not something I enjoy. But what it does is it then gives you opportunity to find that person.
Yeah.
You just have to make the hard choice.
And it gives them an opportunity to go and find the right fit
for them. Yeah, and you hope they're happy. And I've seen people. I remember letting a guy go, and he came back to me when we were moving into this location, and he went, "Hey, I'd like to help you guys move," and I had fired him. And I went, "You know what? Sure." And he went, "I don't want any money," and I went because he worked for like 4 or 5 days, worked his tail off.
Yeah.
And I asked him why. And he said, because when I came back in, no one treated me different.
Oh.
Everybody was just like, hey, man, like, we're not going to hold a grudge. There's no reason to. And he went, I just want to help out and give my part back. He still shops in the store. He's a great guy. It just didn't work out at that time. And you just try to do it the right way. And you kind of ask yourself we're all going to gripe and complain and do those things, but but when you can get that out of your system and kind of go like, look, the real thing is like almost none of it's personal, and so you then just try to treat people good when you see them out in public, just treat them the same, ask how their family is and mean it. You know what I mean? And actually mean it. Like they're still a human being, and a business thing didn't work out, so what? You can still have dinner with them if you want to. It doesn't do anything, and maybe they're doing really good now.
100%. And also, I mean, working in a community is a lot like working in our business, right? In our industry, it's the same people that move around to different publishers, different retailers. You're going to see the same person.
Technically 3 things I've seen you in, I think.
At least.
You did more before, but we got introduced, when you were with the company startup, and then you did Prana, and then now you're doing the comic book magazine.
I will, and that's just it. Is there are people that want to, like, I don't know. I think this industry is too small and this life is too short to have an enemies list. Personally, I just
look. There's going to be people you don't get along with as good.
Oh, I have one. It's a very small one though. It's a very small group. I will not touch. Jason Blanchard, who I work with a lot, one of the things he likes to say and remind me often is, "Would you go to this person for advice?" No. Well, then why would you listen to any criticism they had?
It's fair,
right? That's it. It's just such a simple rule, and it makes all the difference.
And also, like, for example, you got people running businesses in different parts of the country, and they run a different business model, and what you're doing might not make sense to them, and you're like, I could pull out a spreadsheet and show you it works. Yeah. But it doesn't matter that you believe it or not.
Well, this actually moves into a really interesting transition. So let's try. I'm going to try and make this smooth. We'll see how that works. So much of what people like me do is working with people like you who are you have very specific needs. Your location, your community, your staff, all of that makes you individual, and is part of the reason why the direct market does as well as it does. But it also means that everybody has an opinion about how the things like publishing and distribution and those sorts of things happen. So to that end, I'd love to get into some of your opinions and some of your experiences in the last little bit, because you and I have talked a little bit over the last 2 years about or 3 years rather, about this like really massive transition from in distribution for us, and the different decisions publishers have made along the way. I wanted to dig into some of that, if you don't mind.
I'm an open book, and I'll say whatever I'm thinking, and it's not meant to hurt anybody. My opinions are a little different than a lot of people, as you know.
And there would be. Everybody's are, because you like I said, everybody is coming at this from a completely different set of circumstances. You know, I mean, maybe not completely, but there's always a different cocktail of needs for every individual. So where do you think we stand right this second, 2026, February 4th, 2026, we're looking at comics distribution in a different way than it has ever been before. And every day there's some new shift and some new change. Would you say, looking at where we are right now, that we are in a stronger place or a weaker place than we were, let's call it 5 years ago?
All right, let me ask you a question.
Let's go.
To go with it. When you are selling retail merchandise,
okay,
is it better to have more places to get it or fewer?
I think that's a simplistic question with lots of extra questions on top of it.
My opinion is we are far better. It's not a slam on Daymond in the slightest. But here's why. When I buy games, I have GTS, ACD, Alliance, now Universal. I've got Games Workshop. I've got all these other companies I can go to. A lot of times, a product I want is out of stock. Asmodee. But ACD also sells Asmodee products. And if they're out at Asmodee, sometimes it's in at ACD. Maybe I'll lose a point or two a discount, but I have it. Right. DC is now available at 3 different places, if my memory serves me right. I can get trades at PRH, I can get trades and floppies at Lunar, and I can get trades and floppies at Universal. And I think it's not a slam on any of these people, but from our perspective, I think comic guys weren't used to that. They were like, I want one place to do everything. And I'm like, but gaming guys had a different perspective, right? Or shops that carried a multitude of products. If you look at Bedrock, I'm friends with those guys, and their shops are also very diversified with different toys and products and tchotchkes and all the different fun stuff. I feel like having more distribution's better. Is there a learning curve? Yeah, there is. It's different to do FOC at different places and order. I get it. We have to get used to different platforms, but I already do that. We order from 10 to 15 people a week, and I think it's better if people get used to that thought process, because it's going to diversify what they have in their store, and they're more likely to have the product in their store that customers want.
I think that one of the things that I keep coming to is, how has this made the customer service experience? How has this made the customer experience better?
You have product.
You have it. That's a big piece of this, right? Is it, is this making the customer well? But the flip side of that is by, again, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, even though I already jump ahead and have my own opinions, obviously. But the flip side of that is the number of smaller vendors who no longer have that coverage that they could get with somebody like Daymond, who owned the market, right? If they own the marketplace, they can allow everybody in, because, for them, it's just incremental additions as opposed to, large additions of, say, customer service or real estate or whatever. So do you lose out on SKUs? Do you lose out on product as a result of that?
So, yeah, I do think some of the small publishers got hurt. What I kept seeing was an evolution of a lot of those guys going to Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so the real question is if they were going to evolve in that direction, Kickstarter could potentially make them big enough that someone wants to pick them up.
Well, we're actually doing that right now. We're bringing one of our Prana publishers as somebody who just grew up in Kickstarter and created an audience. And
look, I don't love Kickstarter. It circumvents us, right? But it's the reality of what of what it is, right? I mean, you can't argue with, if I was publishing, would I want to kickstart stuff? I would, because it's a good tool. And I'm not beating them up. You know, anytime you are beating up somebody for doing what's right for their business, you're just thinking about you.
Yeah.
And I understand why they do it. I don't always like it. And people go, did you order the Kickstarter? No, because you can. You know, and then sometimes the retail tier, and I've even messaged guys and went, hey man, your retail tier either doesn't exist or it's horrible. I have no way to support you if I wanted to.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, educating them on that, you know, maybe I would support you, but you didn't put a retail tier in there.
Yeah.
Maybe their margins don't allow them. I don't know their situation. Maybe their margins are bad. I don't know. So you don't hate them. You just want to kind of let them know your perspective and, hey man, I'll buy you a drink at Comics Pro or San Diego or whatever. Like, it's nothing mean. I'm just asking the question, because I've seen a lot of people in the past that get on social media and just, you're a blank or a this or that because you kickstarted it. Or I'm like, well, man, they're only trying to pay their bills like everybody else, and that's the path they thought was the best one.
I get this rant about the word should. You know, you shouldn't do this because it means I can't, whatever. That assumes you know. It assumes that you understand all of the aspects that went into that decision. So saying that you should do anything.
You didn't say we shouldn't do it because it's bad for our business.
Yeah.
You said we shouldn't do it because it's bad for your business. Yeah. Now, like I said, the way to approach it is, hey, you didn't have a retail tier. Did you forget it? Are you adding it later?
Right.
Can I do it on Backer Kit or whatever, you know, in this particular thing. And it's like,
can I order it direct? Can I,
it might be a way. And I've done it. You know, we've ordered stuff direct to support people that we cared about and we really wanted to help. And, you know, we've done that. I think we did it with, we did a big one with Boom when they did the Berserker one back during COVID.
But you know what? I think that also says a lot about how these brands that are, you know, some of these publishers that are going to Kickstarter, even though they have platforms elsewhere, right? I always struggle with the idea that they have that, you know, they are eating into the customer base of the direct market of those comic shops. Are they, you know, does everybody know somebody in their shop who would have bought that if it showed up, who went to that Kickstarter?
I mean,
maybe,
but it's a maybe, because usually it's a high-end product.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like Dynamite did the Thundercats omnibus. That's not going to be a thing that sells 1 million copies in most stores. But a guy who's a toy guy for Thundercats might see that, buy it, and potentially go, man, it's pretty cool. What do you mean there's a Thundercats comic going on right now?
Exactly.
And then he comes in the shop. And so you can't be real close-minded to the possibility that it could help you garner more business in your store. Because who buys one comic?
I always, you know what I do like about you, Robert, is oftentimes we do occasionally, because, you know, I'm a goddamn liberal from Brooklyn. We do occasionally find our places of conflict, of where our beliefs don't line up. Not conflict, I won't call it that. But we do... what I like about talking with you is I never feel like anyone is the enemy who doesn't agree with you. And I will say that is a rare and powerful gift.
Well, why do you want to make enemies if you don't have to?
Exactly.
I don't see the value in that. And I think what's been lost, not to be political or any of that stuff, but in general in society, is if we disagree on one thing, I have to throw out the baby with the bathwater, you know, to use an old term. And that's not how it used to be. I've used this example with you. My dad's best friend, my dad was a sheriff, he was a Marine, and his best friend had completely opposite politics.
Yeah.
And they talked about it like it was the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Yeah, it should be, right.
And they would insult each other and pick on each other and just be ragging the hell out of each other while they're outside in 100-degree weather building a deck. Because the point was, we have this thing we disagree on. Let's rib the pee out of each other about it.
Sure.
While we're friends, because I think you're a good guy and we disagree on one thing, but we agree on everything else.
And beyond that, as I've gotten older, I've realized that for me, it is so much more powerful what someone does than what they believe. right?
Amen.
You can believe, you can have religious beliefs that I think are just cuckoo crazy pants. But if you're a good person who is kind and generous and and loving and all of the things that I value, then who cares?
Who cares how you got there? What's the point, right? You worship ducks for all I care.
Exactly.
You're a good
I don't care what
person.
map you took. You got here. That's great.
You got to a good spot, and I don't understand the point. I think there's also something I heard once. It was like, do you want to be right or you want to be happy?
Ooh, boy. Yeah.
That's a powerful one, and I've thought about that a lot. Because our ego wants to be right, but it's usually not very happy.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Awesome. All right. So I will say, I had an opportunity to get something spicy out of you, and you even dodged that. So forget it. It's not happening.
You're funny.
Aside from buying their own real estate, right? Let's say one of the things I think a lot about these days is how are we going to? We have an entire generation of new readers who are coming into shops right now, right? This Dogman generation grew up on Raina Telgemeier and Dogman and Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Like they legitimately live and breathe comics already. They don't have to be taught how to read comics. They're coming in, they're finding Absolute Batman, they're finding, which just feels enough like manga to make them easy transition into superheroes. All of those things are happening right this second. How do we start thinking now about how to take these kids into opening their own shops, right? Because that is the next step for us, is that new generation of shop owners growing into this in order to keep this sort of tradition alive.
Here's what I think. I think it's always going to come from someone who's worked in a store.
One of my favorite pieces of advice, I said somebody had heard saying they wanted to open a pizza shop, and the guy talking to him said, "Have you ever worked in a pizza shop?" No. Go work in a pizza shop.
Go work in one. Yeah, learn.
Yeah.
I tried to go in the military. I was 4F. I'd had a seizure disorder when I was young. I think you know this story.
Yeah.
And I got offered a job running this store for Heroes, and I took it. I'd never been to the city. Never been to Greenville.
Okay.
I hadn't seen. And I knew I needed an adventure. I needed a change, and I did it. And never knew what it would lead to. And Lord, I never dreamed that it would lead to where we are. That includes, my wife, my kids, every friend I have. Like, take the business out of it, right? I have no idea what my life would be like if I hadn't done that. And I think it's someone coming into the business, working in a shop, falling in love with it. Mm-hmm. I don't know that we need to do anything. I think that's going to continue to happen the way it always has. But I think the strategy is different. So in the past, it was like an old record store. They just carried records. Right? Because that's what we used to compare comic shops to in the 70s and 80s.
Sure.
And now I think it's about diversification. And it is a firm belief of mine that if more stores are diversified, it generates more capital, not only for them to take risks, but to buy collections and do other things that they wouldn't have the ability to do. We've bought collections that were six figures. I bought a collection that was it was like 30 grand more than my first house.
Yeah.
But without us selling all these other things, we wouldn't have generated the revenue to do that. And I think that the diversification piece for our industry moving forward is, your local comic shop should be the place that you can get the products adjacent to the things that you love. And, start small. I mean, when we started board games here, I bought a board game. And when I sold it...
What was it?
Oh, God. I think it was Catan.
Okay.
But when I sold it, I replaced it, and I used the profit to buy one more board game. It was very methodical, and not a surprise, right? Yeah. But and then we did that, and it worked, and then we just kept the ball rolling. And I think that's the piece that people... I just see guys miss it. They're like, "Oh, I just do comics." I'm like, man, that's the thing that got me in. Now, I was lucky. I played D&D in the freaking 70s, right? So I loved gaming. I played Warhammer when I was younger, and so I understood some of this in a different way, and it's why I think that we work so well. You can't be everything to everyone, and I totally understand. There could be a shop that specializes in magic, and you're like, hey man, that suits me better. They know more. That's great, and that's your shop, and I don't hate it. But at the same time, when you can have all these different things, your knowledge of the industry is better. You have more information to draw on, more customers to draw on. For example, I have people come for Free Comic Book Day that are gamers. And you remember, that's one thing that's different about Free Comic Book Day, or I can't even remember what PRH had to call theirs now. But I'm not being snarky, I just don't remember.
No.
I
don't. The first Saturday of May or whatever it was called.
Yeah, I mean, they had to do something different, and I get it. I mean, I know it's they're participating, which is what matters. But
we'll see what next year looks like.
For me, it was, I used to do Free Comic Book Day exclusives and put coupons on them.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Remember when I did that?
Yeah, I do.
And it was only good starting the next week.
Yeah.
So you had to come back. And what did that do? Well, that meant gamers came in to get them, and other people came in to get them. The hardest thing to do is to get someone to walk in your store.
Yep.
So if they came in that day and there's some sales, and they go buy more stuff, and then they come back and they have a sale that they can use whenever they want to because they got a coupon, and you get them back in. Maybe you get a Muggle back in to buy a Funko Pop or something, right? So I think just having that flexibility of thought and understanding that diversification of product. I would hear guys, oh, I don't carry Funko, they're this, they're that. And I know they're going down now, but we had a couple years, we did $200,000 in Funko. And that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of customers.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was you were their source for that. I run into this a lot. I'm thinking of two different retailers that I think we probably both know, who complain that they're not seeing the same growth that is the rest of the industry is seeing right now. And when you look at their businesses are not terribly diverse. They are just comics, and not just comics, like comics that they like.
Has nothing to do with what I like. It'd be a very small store for the stuff that I actually would buy and read, right?
Well, compared to your store, they're both tiny. But that's just it, right? They've chosen this, and I'm sure that when things are good, they're great. But when they are not so good, like there's a lot more time that's not the case. That does ring very, very true to me. Something else that you just said reminded me of some advice I heard for restaurant owners that were talking about, thinking about your customers' first 3 visits. There's just some magic number for restaurant visits that if you get to like the 4th or 5th one, you have a customer for life, right? As long as they live there, they're going to keep coming back to you. So really, it's just about getting them to that 5th visit. And how do we do that, right? Do we, the first one you say, oh, I see you got the chicken. You absolutely have to try our meatloaf. Here, I don't always do this. Here's a coupon. Come in. I'm going to pay for the meatloaf for next time.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. And then you do the next time. It's like, oh, that was really good. You guys, special occasion is coming for cheesecake, whatever it is. You're giving away the cost of goods on this, but once you get them to that 5th visit, like they have a relationship with you, and I think that you're building that sort of customer path, and it's very, very smart.
Well, I think it's the piece. Like we've got a place here called Local Q that we love. They cater our green room for the con. I've had celebrities that just rave about them.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of place I walk into. I sit down and my drink gets set down.
Yeah.
Because all the staff knows us, right? Because we've been there so much. And so it becomes your place. The old adage about you want to be the 3rd place.
Right? It becomes your place. That's exactly it. And how do you create that environment?
The first thing is you just care.
Well, that helps.
And it's the simplest thing, because if you care about the customer, I think a lot of these things become fluid and they become easy, and you just have to do what feels right in that moment, and you'll probably be okay. And then it starts to become a pattern for you as well,
Yeah.
like you're saying, it becomes a pattern.
And I think it's also we talk going back to staff. That is a good indicator of who somebody should be on your team, is how much they care about the people you serve, right? Is that obviously is that the foremost in their mind, or is the foremost in their mind getting paid? Right, that's usually those. I mean, not that people shouldn't be paid.
Hey, if caring about the customer is number 2 to getting paid, I'm not beating that up.
Yeah,
but if it's number 5,
yeah,
that's a problem.
That's going to be an issue.
Yeah, number two is totally acceptable, but number 5 isn't. Like, we got to take, because if we don't take care of them, there's no money to pay you.
Exactly.
It's kind of that conversation.
Heard. Before we leave, I want to ask a question. He's come up. You've said his first name a couple of times. I haven't yet interviewed him. I think I've tested him. I kind of poked at him a couple times, and he gave me that sort of stare that says, "I don't want to say no," but But I'm not calling you out. I swear to God. Tell the audience, if you would, who is Shelton Drum?
So Shelton is who got me in the industry. Stan Reed worked for Shelton. Shelton Drum's Heroes Aren't Hard to Find. They put on one of the best pure comic conventions in America.
100%.
No argument, no question.
When I give people when I give publishers or new publishers or people coming in from outside of our industry, like a short list of shows, I always mention Heroes because it is the place to meet creators. Like, if you're casting, if you are looking to put new artists on your books, you have to go.
At one point, when I went to work for them, they had 3 stores. It was Winston-Salem, Charlotte, and Greenville. When I worked with them, we grew it to 6 stores. And then eventually I was head of retail at like 22, 23. It was pretty insane. And I got thrown in the fire and did the best I could. I worked my tail off, but I didn't have a lot of wisdom that I think I have now. I was a little bit more of a fire plug in my younger days.
Who wasn't?
Yeah. And,
I am so sorry for those of you who knew me then. I am sorry.
Some days
I don't like that guy either.
Yeah, some days I am too, for sure. But at the same time, I think that chain at the time was pretty massive. Like a 6-store chain in the 90s. Really big. And then just things evolved and changed, and they just have their store in Charlotte now, and they have, like I said, one of the best cons in America, and I think that's where he's comfortable, right, at his age.
Sure.
But at the same time, I think that they influenced a number of shop owners in the Carolinas, convention runners, all through the Carolinas, probably into Virginia or Tennessee as well. I think he had a huge impact on the industry. I really do. And it's, he and I get along fine. I've seen him at shows. I saw him at his show this year. It's weird when you're running a show and I don't feel like we compete. Like, my show has media guests, his doesn't. My store's a very different store than it was when I ran an 800 square foot store with the biggest spiders I've ever seen. That dang building had everything from brown recluses to wolf spiders. Like, you just would not believe the monsters that were in the store. It was kind of crazy. But I think that Heroes is very important in the history of comics, at least in the South. I've traveled to conventions all over working for them and met a lot of people, and it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy the origin story of going through there and then to what we are is not. A joke I always make. I came back and bought the store 20 years after I started working for them. Wow. And I'd been out of the industry and done other stuff, and the joke I always make is I feel like the guy on Hallmark Channel that came back to run the family platypus farm. It makes no sense. It shouldn't work.
And you met the local school teacher, and the whole thing just happened. Yeah,
that's what it feels like. The small town. You're in Greenville.
I get it.
And it shouldn't work. But I say it all the time: is if we can grow this business to the size it is here, then somebody in a larger area could be twice our size or 3 times our size. And I'll get all these arguments, it won't work. And I'm like, it will. I didn't do it overnight.
Well, that's just it. The incremental success is the hardest one. It is, it's the most reliable, but it's the hardest one to wait on, right? We want things that scale. We want things that will, we want explosive growth. We're not looking for incremental growth.
You need to climb the ladder. You got to do the work.
You goddamn right. You goddamn right.
Moving into this building was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The growth because of the visibility. We're near a college. We're on a major road. I tell people that if you get a store in the right spot, that alone is advertising.
Yeah.
Like your advertising budget's your rent in some ways.
Yeah. That's Phil Boyle says that. He says that of Coliseum of Comics, he says that his advertising and rent per location is the same line budget. Right. So they have a certain percentage of revenue that comes out of that line, and whatever isn't paid for in rent, that's advertising, and vice versa.
And you can, as you grow it, right? As you grow it, that budget grows.
Yeah, exactly.
And theoretically helps you grow it again.
Yeah.
For us, it's there's not a lot we can't do if we really choose to. And that's the part that I never dreamed of. Like when we opened up, I had $7,000 in the bank, a $2,000 bill due on Wednesday. We opened on a Saturday, and on Monday it snowed.
In Greenville, South Carolina.
And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. The universe hates me. And so, like, I took the opportunity. I knew it was going to snow. I took a whole bunch of back issues home. And I said, and then, as soon as we were back open, I'm running on social media that, hey, we got a whole bunch of new back issues in stock, just trying to get people in to help recoup the sales. And I remember the first time we started opening on Sundays, my goal was to do $500.
I bet.
On Sundays, right?
What's a Sunday now?
It's 5,000.
Yeah.
And so it's, you just have to take a risk, and you've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to keep working. And I still say you can outwork your mistakes. I don't think I'm really smarter than a lot of people. I just think I don't quit, and I'm willing to admit something didn't work and then pivot and try to do something else. I honestly think that's the biggest secret to succeeding in business.
I feel like that's a good place to start winding down then. How about let's do a couple questions I usually do here at the end.
Yeah.
What do you think, February 4th, 2026, what do you think is the biggest risk facing the comics industry at the moment?
The biggest successes right now are obviously the absolute stuff and the ultimate stuff from Marvel, but I think not to be discounted is the Transformers G.I. Joe world from Skybound, which is incredible. You took something that sold 3-4 copies, and I think we're selling 75% of Batman for Transformers.
That's incredible, yeah.
Mind-blowing. Yeah. So not absolute, but the regular Batman title.
Sure.
And I think it's continuing to evolve, take risks, and listen to our customers. So, one of my concerns with this Ultimate End thing was I felt like they were doing it too soon. And now they're revealing there's something, after it that they are kind of continuing. That's great. That's good. Yeah. But you always look at it and go like, I would rather, and people will have a differing opinion, but if it's working, ride it till it stops. If people want to spend money on it, if I've got a steakhouse and we're killing it, I'm not going to go, we're going to be a salad bar place now.
Yeah.
Right. And I've got all these people lined up to buy steak, but I don't want to sell them steak. Right. So I think that's the biggest challenge is when we have something that works, let's do it. And people go, well, they just keep grinding it in, like blind bags. I'm like, yeah, but everybody cut their orders on blind bags. You knew they wouldn't keep going. The first one the Battle Beast one was like crazy because nobody had done it. Then everybody copied it, and I don't blame them, but just don't go crazy. You're going to sell some. They're fun.
Yeah.
And they really are fun. I kind of think it's like opening a pack of baseball cards or something, right? Or Magic cards or whatever analogy you want to use.
My pet theory on that is that I think blind bags have not yet reached their peak. And I think part of it is because the printers haven't quite figured out the production side of it yet. The thing that makes, the baseball cards and all of those things work, we haven't yet figured out on the comic side yet, but we will. And when we do, that's when we'll start hitting those peaks, I think.
When we can get the mix right.
Exactly.
That's
the really hard part.
Some guy doesn't open a box and he gets all the cool stuff. right, in
Exactly.
one store. And I haven't heard of that happening, but I'm assuming based on what
Oh,
you're
it's
saying,
happening. Yeah.
that it is.
That exact problem is happening to everybody on every scale who's doing blind bags right now. They're dealing with printers that either don't get it or refuse to try getting that mix right. So you end up having to enter another step, and it's just, it's a challenge.
Increase your cost on it where it's not worth doing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, it's still fun, and
Yeah.
I think it's neat and it's enjoyable, and anything different is good. So anytime people are doing things like foil covers or chromium covers or any of that kind of fun stuff, I see people judge it. I actually think it's fun.
Me too.
I think it's really enjoyable. I think it's really
Yeah.
cool. And I think it's a fun thing to do, and I think people should continue doing it.
You are just the eternal optimist. I ask you about what is the biggest risk, and you tell me all the things that are working. I love that about you, Rob. I absolutely do. Do not ever change.
I think the real challenge is if people don't, for lack of a better term, the risk is not continuing the things that work.
Yeah.
Right? So if something's working, then why in God's name are you what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. And people are always scared, it might stop working. I'm like, man, it's working. It'll let you know when it doesn't work. You're going to get an FOC that you go, oh, now we need to pivot, but let the market tell you.
There will be a day where you have more pop figures than you really should have in stock.
Oh, that day's probably happened for everybody. But that is what it is. But
yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day,
it happened eventually, but until then, you enjoy the ride. Right?
Guess what? Then you've got a bunch of pops that you can put in blind bags. Believe it or not, we make blind bags for our big sales of Funko Pops that aren't worth anything. And people love buying them. And then one of them has a gift card to the store for double what they spent on the bag. So we do that, put the gift card in, and somebody wins it, and they're super happy, and everybody's happy, and you get rid of product that isn't moving. Every retail business on earth has product that they have to blow out.
Yeah, of
And
course.
sometimes in our world, I see guys that act like we're different. And it's like, man, that's every retail business on earth. You can walk in and go to the clearance aisle at Target or Walmart or whatever. Yeah. Ollie's exist for a reason.
All right, Robert. How can people find you? What would you like them to do when they do find you? And do you have a, for the literally dozens of people who are going to watch and or listen to this, do you have like a call to action, something you'd like for them to do that is maybe not Borderlands related, but could be? Go ahead.
It's going to sound cheesy as all get out, but find the thing you love and do it. I mean, you're doing it. I'm doing it. I think my employees love working here. Most of them, they're doing it. I think that's the call to action. As far as to find us, they can find Borderlands and SC Comic Con on Facebook and Instagram. And if anybody wants to contact me, they can contact me through there, and I will answer. My wife checks all of our socials because she does a whole lot of work for the company in the back. And she'll get with me and I'll get with them. Or borderlandscomics at gmail.com. They can always email me there as well. But this industry's given me more than I ever dreamed. And if I can give back, if I can help another shop, I'm here. I've done it. I've got a couple guys I help out all the time. And I'm happy to do it because other people did it for me.
Zero problem believing that. Thank you so much, Robert. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being friend to all of us. It's you make all of our lives a little bit better.
That's kind. I appreciate it, and I'm super happy for you guys with the magazine.
Thank you.
That was a huge risk that you took, and I think there's a place for it. I really do, and I think it's going to work. I mean, I believe in you. I think you're going to do it.
That's a great place to stop.